It's the end of September 2021. This is Nelson Jennings in Connecticut and John in North Carolina. And we're just having a visit together for just a bit to become acquainted, and happy to do that. So John, thank you again just for responding to my contact to you online. I mean, I see you on YouTube. I think this would be a great guy to get to know, and within the kind of context, as I mentioned to you, of this class for Covenant Seminary on people's religious traditions, just to help all of us who are in this course to get to know people and learn about doing that, especially insofar as people of different religious traditions are connected. So thanks again for getting back to me and for agreeing to do this.
Well, I appreciate you reaching out, Nelson, and I'm happy to have this contact with you. And I commend you for your efforts to broaden your students' perspective by exposing them to various traditions that, who knows, they may pick up a thing or two here or there. And so in any case, I'm glad to participate in this video.
Well, you know, John, as I've watched some of your YouTubes and listened to you explain a huge variety of subjects within Buddhism. And as I watched you, lay out within an hour's time to those students at the community college on the video that you sent me, I mean, you call yourself, you call yourself what, a lay?
Yeah, a lay person, yeah.
A lay person, and I won't say but, I'll say and. You are, I mean, incredibly in not just informed, but your command of the sutras, the figures, the different bodhisattvas, I mean, down the line, is quite astounding almost. As I listen to you, no, I mean, it's really something, and so that shows a tremendous amount of devotion and study over many years on your part, clearly. And further evidence of that in this lecture to the students that you gave was the way that you've packaged some things in your own sorts of categories and terms to help people understand certain things. That's further evidence to me that you have absorbed, regurgitated, and are able to explain things to people that otherwise would be difficult for them to access.
You're kind. Thank you, Nelson. I appreciate that feedback. Yeah, it's something I've studied for over 40 years. And, you know, I have obviously my own faith-based convictions and my orientation in the Shin Buddhist tradition, but I also recognize that, and this is consistent with the teaching in the Lotus Sutra that I mention so often on my channel, is that, you know, different people have different spiritual needs in terms of what they can take in, what they can understand, and there are different spiritual teachings and methods that can help bring people along in accordance with what their needs are and what gives them comfort and understanding to move forward on a spiritual path. So, you know, so while I have my own sort of set of beliefs and convictions with regard to, you know, Shin Buddhism, I feel an obligation to, you know, utilize the YouTube channel to kind of expose people to a variety of things, and then people can pick up what makes sense to them, what resonates with each.
Sure. I want to circle back to the YouTube channel in a minute, but your work in mental health and in care in the hospital and in other practice, clearly you're working in interfaith environments.
Most definitely, yes. And I will mention, too, that one of my activities in recent years has been to participate on the board of directors of an interfaith council in our area.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's been a real plus in terms of, you know, collaboration, because there's not that many Buddhists in my.
No, I wouldn't think so.
But again, you do find like-minded folks of various traditions, including obviously Christianity and
Right.
Judaism, and as well as humanism. And
Uh-huh.
so, yeah, we do have an organization that reflects that. But yeah, in the context, particularly of working in a state institution,
Yeah.
I'm sensitized, Nelson, and have been throughout my career, both before and after my spiritual awakening, of the importance of the principle of separation of church and state here in the United States of America.
Right.
And so I certainly didn't use that context for any proselytizing or sharing at all.
Sure.
Although I did put different things in my office, so if people
Right.
came in, I mean, it would be apparent that,
Yeah. And if they want to, if they wanted to ask, then they could ask, right?
That's exactly right.
Sure. Right.
That's exactly right.
Sure. Well, all of us in the United States of America and other settings too, but have to negotiate those sorts of matters, and they come out in various sorts of issues. I mean, I'm thinking of Christian preachers who are regularly standing up and speaking in public settings,
I'm with you.
and different ones of us in different Christian traditions have certain convictions, for example, about sexuality.
I'm with you.
And how to speak publicly about those when they might run amiss against what has been happening in this country legally and otherwise. I mean, that's something to negotiate, and it takes care.
Well, and I will say, and I'm interested in your opinion on this, is that it has occurred to me that it's in the nature of us as human beings that when we latch on to a particular religious belief system, orientation, set of ideas that gives us comfort and seems to resonate strongly with us, that there can be a tendency to feel that what we believe is the exclusive truth. And, I understand that, but again, from another angle, that can be problematic. But anyhow, I think it's a natural tendency that people have. I'm not sure how we account for that in terms of our biological or neurological makeup, but I think there you have it,
Well, and for those of us who are in Christian traditions who have inherited, this is my opinion on that, and just one source of feedback to you, who have inherited the instincts that we have socio-political influence,
right,
and have the socio-political clout to dictate certain standards, whereas in light of societal changes over the last few generations in this country, and perhaps in light of finally coming to realize some things that we had assumed, kind of a monolithic Christian environment that wasn't ever there really, but we thought that it was, to have to adjust to a pluralistic environment in many ways,
I'm with you.
where we're used to calling the signals. I mean, to me, that's much of the impetus behind the religious right, if you will, to look for political means to dictate to the rest of society, this is the way things shall be. And we have to learn to adjust, to negotiate, to compromise, to learn, and all of that. And that's not an easy lesson, I think, for many of our traditions to do.
Oh, that's right. And again, there are dangers going down that path. But, we can back up, or I would encourage us in our conversation, in a sense, to back up with regard to the risks associated with greater politicization or exclusivity in the context of this impulse toward spirituality that us human beings have, and say, on the other side of the coin, we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say all religion is bad and it should be abandoned in toto. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. And that's a huge challenge in this country, because that has been the tendency, hasn't it? Is the pendulum has swung. Yeah. So let's just go. And then now we have the spirituality, not religion, sort of a construct that seems fairly popular. And how do we negotiate that? as well.
Well,
So
there's a basic Buddhist concept that actually came from the historical Buddha Sakyamuni, and it's one I actually have used in my psychology work over the course of the decades. Is his notion of the middle path?
yeah,
That where is that middle path between extremes?
sure.
And so that's
Yeah.
a challenge to some extent.
Well put. May I circle back to the YouTube channel thing?
Absolutely, sir.
When and how did you decide to start doing that?
Well, that's interesting. Again, I have done many things over the years, Nelson, to try to connect with Buddhists around the country. I had one time we started a publication called Wider Shin Buddhist Fellowship. One time I created a publication called Buddhist Notes from the Boondocks. And actually I created a web page back in the
Did you make that up all by yourself, that name?
Yeah, I did. Because that's where I feel like I live, is kind of in the boondocks, at least insofar as Buddhism. But I established a web page early on, and but then when I retired, I had freedom. My mantra now that I'm retired is every day is a gift. And so, yeah, I made up a few videos, mainly talking about my journey, my faith, and I have a wooded lot next to the house, and I've done some things there, created some things that I wanted to share with people. And then I kind of let it go for, I don't know, a few months or a year. And then somebody said on one of my videos in a comment section, "Where did you go? Where?" and to be honest, that kind of prompted me to get back to it and to approach it in a more systematic way, and to use it as a forum really for sharing, again, the variety of kinds of teachings within the tradition, as well as throwing out some of my own comments from time to time. So it's a great, I will say though, and I do need to, say this for the record, I guess, is that it's a great medium because of its accessibility to others and its wide use. But I did get distressed recently, Nelson, about 2-3 months ago, when they started putting ads on my videos, because I have strictly been non-monetized. I don't look to gain anything from it, but Google and its capitalist wisdom, I guess you'd say, has inserted those, which distressed me. But it is what it is, and people can, I guess, put ads.
Well, that's true almost every video you see. But so if I had gone to your channel 6 months ago, let's say, I wouldn't have to endure those ads that I have to now, right?
Not one of them. What it is they started inserting ads for people who had not requested their channel to be monetized, right?
Did they? Well, we don't have to get into judging Google here, but I would guess that you would have been notified beforehand.
No, they just started showing up. But then I researched it, and I determined that they changed their terms of use. They changed their terms to allow themselves to do that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so when did you begin the YouTube?
2015.
2015. Well, I haven't tracked every one, of course, I've seen, and I visited a number of your sites, but the fact that you would have come up when I'm doing some general searches,
right,
or Buddhist chanting, as I recall, was one search that I did when I was looking for particular types of resources. The fact that you would come up for there or other sorts of things, I forget the categories. The fact that you would come up, one, and then two, when I did notice the number of visits,
right,
when it was quite substantial,
right.
I mean, you don't have just, some uncles and aunts and a few close friends looking at these things. There are a lot of people that are checking things out and interacting with you and making comments.
There's a term in the South, Nelson, and it's very non-Buddhistic, but I'll say I'll brag on myself and say, yeah, I've got 3,000 subscribers plus, and every 28 days there are probably about 70 some new subscribers and many, many views. So yeah, it's nice. I mean, it's not humongous, but when you think about the nature of the topic, it's gratifying. And I love to get comments. I don't actively solicit them, but when they come about, I try to reply to everyone. And
well, I noticed that, John, that you were replying to people, and I'm sure that personal touch means a lot to folks, because that normally doesn't happen, I would think,
With you.
So do you have any idea how many YouTube videos you have up?
Oh gosh, I honestly don't. It's definitely more than a couple, 3,000, I think, in that ballpark. And a lot of them are recitation videos because
Right.
I do revere the teachings, the scriptures, the sutras, and so forth, as well as different people that have written about them.
Yeah.
And I've generally gotten permission to do those things. But
Okay.
yeah, I put up quite a few of them.
That's no small thing. That's
Yeah.
quite a venture, and to have that many subscribers, I mean, that's a pretty wide effect that you've had. You sent me this video of your teaching in a local community college. Do
Yeah,
you have do you have that sort of opportunity fairly frequently, or how often does that come up for you?
Again, I think I can't remember how the instructor tracked me down, but I get communication from people from time to time with different requests, such as yours. But
Yeah.
this guy was an instructor, and he found me and said, he teaches a course on world religions, and could I come in and give the session on Buddhism?
Yeah.
I said, sure. So I've gone in there multiple times. In other words, over the
Okay.
course of different classes and semesters to do
Right.
that. And I've done it at other colleges as well. I'm happy to do that. Again, there's a term in Buddhism, and I don't want to, again, equate myself in any way with Buddha, but there's a term called rolling the Dharma wheel, rolling the great Dharma wheel. And
Yeah.
that's in a sense how I see it, is I'm working to help roll the Dharma wheel. In other words, to share the teachings, not in a way that presses them on anybody, but in a way that, gives people access if they want to be exposed and take it in to the extent that it has meaning for them.
There's so much value in that I see, John, and the students who are going to be seeing this video and interacting with you when we meet again. And again, it's just a small number of students in this course, which pedagogically is great. But one of the things that I've stressed to them, and I've stressed this to other students of mine as well, is to caution Christian preachers, who are the main kind of students that I train and teach, caution them against making blanket general statements about religions. And all religions teach this, or only Christianity teaches that, or whatnot. And one of the particular points that we were just talking about this the other day with the students was that Christianity is the only religion that teaches salvation by faith alone. That's just manifestly not the case.
Correct.
I mean, it's true in certain forms of Bhakti Hinduism as well, along with Shin Buddhism, etc. And the fact that every other religion teaches that it's by human effort and works that people are saved. I've heard Christian preachers make that sort of a statement, and I just cringe, And all that's to say, the fact that you would get information out to help inform people more. And perhaps if people want to go this route, to persuade people, but at least to inform people, that's just extremely valuable, I think.
Well, let me comment on two ends of the continuum.
Okay.
And thinking about your students, particularly as I'm making these comments, is on one end of the continuum, there's a guy that has a podcast. I think it's called Secular Buddhism. And so I want to make the point, on the one hand, that there are elements of the early forms of Buddhism that can be of benefit to people, regardless of their religious tradition or beliefs, and that don't suggest that they modify those in the least, but that there are practices such as meditation, for example, that can be helpful to people. And in that regard, too, there's a book by Paul Knitter that my significant other brought to my attention. It's to the effect that, without Buddhism, I couldn't be a Christian. So there's elements of Buddhism that can be helpful to people of other traditions to become more convinced and embedded within the positive aspects of their own tradition. Now, on the other end of the continuum, you're right. Within Buddhism, there is a faith-based approach. And Dr. Al Bloom, who actually was a Baptist before he obtained before he converted and obtained his credentials within the field of Buddhist studies, and later became the head of the Institute of Buddhist Studies, and has been, in a sense, one of my role models. He actually wrote a book to the effect of Shinran's system of pure grace. So what Shinran Shonin did in 13th century Japan is really to refine this Pure Land tradition to the extent that it became a system that was totally based on a gift that's given to us from Amida Buddha, and that it's totally independent of any self-effort that we may exercise, whether it be in terms of good works or study or any other activity, that merely by entrusting in this vow that he made in the context of the story associated with the faith, that's the basis for our salvation, if you will, our guarantee of rebirth in his Pure Land when we die.
Yeah, well, likely you'll know that, I mean, a lot of my focus study has been in Japanese Christianity and the history of Japanese Christianity.
Right.
Within the history of Christianity in Japan, when the Portuguese first started to arrive in the mid-1500s in Japan, and they ran into Jodo Shinshu, some of them thought, oh, the Protestants have beaten us here because of the salvation by faith, and the instinct, the teaching that was in there. Yeah. So, John, by the way, what time is it? I don't want to.
It's about 9:30. It's 9:30 exactly at the moment.
Okay. All right. Well, we probably should close up then. We said 30 minutes, and I don't want to take advantage of your time. And we're lined up to have some more conversation with students present. It's Wednesday morning now and next Monday evening, but I'll really look forward to that. And, we're just kind of getting started here, and it's just great to interact. And again, I really, really appreciate, John, your responding and the interaction, and look forward to the time you have directly with students. And I'm sure they'll appreciate viewing this video. And I will send you, of course, a link to this so you can see it yourself.
Sounds good. Nelson, good talking to you.
You too. We'll see you in a few days. Thanks a lot. Okay.
Bye-bye, my friend.
Bye.